what have you seen that people fail the most on that?
So there's a few things. One is if they haven't done it themselves or they haven't done it internally, then they really have no like metrics to work off of. A lot of companies or clients who work with, they'll say, "Oh, we want to have this many meetings per week or per month." But if they've never done outbound before, then where are they getting these numbers from? So oftentimes it's made up. They feel like it should be that, right? But they have no proof to work off of or to show that that's realistic. So my recommendation is you need to actually have done it before you can actually set particular realistic goals and KPIs. If you haven't, that's okay. But you need to then realize that you're testing the market, right? You're trying to test the channels. You're trying to learn who are the right titles to reach out to within the companies. What is the messaging that is resonating the most? And that's fine. That is the best way to go about it. But what oftentimes the biggest mistake I see is companies try to look for an ROI within the few months that they really should be testing. They really should be testing the market, but they're actually looking at it like, oh, I'm spending X amount of dollars. I need to be making a return on investment in 2-3 months. Otherwise, this doesn't make sense. But really, that's just not how it works. This stuff takes a little bit longer in most cases. If you look online, ROI when you hire a sales rep typically takes around, depending on the industry, it depends a little bit, but 6 to 9 months or sometimes up to a year on average to start seeing ROI from an SDR.
Right. Yes, it's part of the learning process and testing different hypotheses before you can actually see the results, right?
Yes.
And there's also what I called it's called pilot induced feedback, right? When you're driving an airplane, right, you make a correction and then the airplane takes that correction and then you overcorrect and you keep overcorrecting, right? Because there's a delay between the input and the output, right? And I think with the SDR process, something similar, with the outbound process, something similar happens, right? Because you're doing the process, but you make the adjustment before seeing the results. Then you don't know the outcome came from the first, second, or third attempt, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a bit of a delicate process in the sense like you don't want to, if you're not getting results, you don't want to do it forever. But at the same time, you want to let certain campaigns play out. You don't want to be 1 or 2 weeks in and scrapping the whole thing and starting over. So you have to kind of find that sweet spot of when it makes sense to continue a campaign and when it makes sense to pivot. I tend to think in the 2 to 3 week mark is when you should start thinking about, whether or not it makes sense to make adjustments.